On a crisp fall day in late October, I ventured to Brooklyn for a studio visit with Will Watson, a visual artist I met a few months earlier at Where Else? An art show. Will and I sat down the weekend after his birthday to discuss the connection between mental health and art, the power of work ethic, and the gifts we stand to gain from knowing our history. From the moment I stepped into his studio, Will's playful vibe and colorful work meant that I couldn't stop smiling.
Is it?
Yeah, 100%. Okay.
That's perfect. I didn't know you were recording. That's cool. That's cool. Great.
Okay, so
good for you. Good, because a lot of times people miss the,
right, the behind the scenes. I want it all.
I'm silly, and I think that is probably like a good starting point for where I kind of jump in with my work. I gotta have fun with it. It's giving JCPenney's
family photo. Every time I see your work on Instagram, and this is my first time actually seeing your work in person because I didn't know you when you had your show. It's it's just really striking.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm Will Watson. I'm originally from Indianapolis, Indiana. Moved to DC, then moved to Baltimore, where I stayed there for a good 7 years. The place became home, and now I live in Brooklyn. Been a visual artist, been an artist my entire life. Something that I've always been interested in, and now it just feels cool to have this like artist experience in New York. Like I don't know, it's as tough as everybody says it is, but it's kind of fun,
You're definitely living somebody's dream.
Yeah, I think about that sometimes. I know I'm living mine, so it's kind of cool that this might be somebody else's too.
How was your birthday?
Oh, my birthday. Yeah, my birthday was fun. I had so much fun that I got sick.
Oh.
Yeah,
you overdid it.
I was down bad. Golly. And being in a new city, like it was really fun to see kind of those people who just pull up and just really support you and who are just genuinely around. So that was really cool for some people to really pop out and show me love. So I had a blast. Sheesh.
So Will, I'm so happy to be here, and I really appreciate you letting me into your studio. This is beyond amazing to me.
Thank you.
The volume of work that you've created in a calendar year. I will say, like, for me, it's a little bit daunting because I'm like, if my work was like a solid thing that I could hang on walls, would I have filled as much space as you? We've known each other for.
We met at the beginning of the year too.
Was it January?
Yeah, I think it might have been January, February.
Okay.
February maybe.
We'll have to check the records. But I remember meeting you at the Richard Hunt show at White Cube on the Upper East Side, and small black world that New York City is. Yeah. You were there with a friend who at one point dated a guy that I went to college with.
Oh, wow.
That's how you and I are connected.
That's fun.
What do you remember about the Richard Hunt show?
Oh, I remember leaving feeling this great sense of community.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was my first time at White Cube Space.
Yeah.
And I met a bunch of really amazing people that night. But I remember specifically just one of the stories surrounding one of those pieces, the work he made when he was inspired by attending Emmett Till's funeral.
Hero's Head.
Because he was also from Chicago.
Yeah.
So hearing the history behind that and seeing the artistic approach to responding to something that devastating, I thought was pretty cool too. because it wasn't something that was like so in your face, and you had to think about it a lot right after looking at it. So
yeah. After the Richard Hunt show, the three of us went for spontaneous tacos, and it was there that Will shared background on the year he'd had. He had recently lost his brother, and in sharing with friends, he noticed the gap in mental health awareness among Black men. In addition to building awareness in his personal circles, Will has used his influence as an artist to highlight, support, and promote better health outcomes. In April, he joined Spry Lee Scott for the first discussion in Scott's Art is Healing series. Here in his studio, like he did in the discussion, he describes how part of his process as a human and an artist relies on daily practice, and he ties this understanding of work ethic to growing up playing basketball.
This year was like a lot of stuff. My brother, and like all those like really, really kind of tough things.
Yeah.
So I had to start thinking about ways of like processing and also grieving, but still choosing joy and all of those things. Within my work, I had always been thinking about like memories and kind of moments that you never forget, quote unquote. But I thought back to like basketball, how growing up, basketball was really one of those like meditative moments where, no matter what I was kind of going through or dealing with, I could just go outside, dribble for a little bit, shoot a few, hoops or whatever, and problem solved. Really, I guess I don't know. But it was just thinking back to the sport, the practice, the object itself, to silly things like painting my shoes. But this is super old, but just fun stuff, to even kind of constructing and building basketball rims, all in commentary around like mental health and mental wellness, and kind of things to do to process.
Spoke a little bit about basketball being a meditation. What does that look like?
Nowadays, it doesn't look like anything but painting.
Painting basketballs, not necessarily playing basketball. Okay.
Yeah, I'm very much retired there. I tried to play a few weeks with like a month or so ago with a group of other artists. It was fun. I didn't know how serious some of those guys were. And I'm just like, I'm just here to have fun, guys. Painting. What's kind of fun is like the repetition of like practice. Thinking about like how you might have practice from 7 to 8, but because you want to be that much better, you get there at 5 and you're there working out. So I now kind of treat like a basketball practice like someone who would be training and working out for the sport. I think about that in context to just like my art practice, like working out in the studio, working out research, just like watching film for them. That might be reading up on artists and researching other artists, but also teaching. So that kind of continues to help me stay connected to the basketball practice, I guess, in my mind.
I think that's a really beautiful analogy. The idea of like, how do I take a work ethic that serves me in sports and apply it to something else that I care about? Because I think when people think about art and like creative work, it's this like, you can only work when inspiration strikes. But that's, at least in my practice, when I think about writing, I can't just write when I have a good idea. Like, I actually need to be writing all the time so that I can find the good ideas inside of all that I've created.
Yeah, and it was something like Don Stanley said, expecting to get like professional results with a backyard practice, and that I was just like, yeah, because you think when you're a kid, you back there doing your 1,000 dribbles in the backyard, but it's people outside, it's people also doing 1,000 dribbles, but they working with a trainer. She don't know how to do the 1,000 dribbles correctly.
You're doing 1,000 dribbles possibly wrong.
Yeah, you know.
As you can see from his studio, basketball is a point of inspiration, but it's not his only subject matter. Will was happy to take the camera and walk me through some of his recent pieces, found objects, and his heartfelt return to works on paper. Can you give us like a mini tour of what we're seeing in here?
Well, this is me taking the camera. So I like.
You can take it off 0.5 if you want.
No, it's fine. I think I like it on 0.5. So yeah, every once in a while, I'll see things on the street. New York is the craziest place to see things on the street. And I've been having these ideas about doing some found object sculptures with some basketball rims and such. Just to continue this idea of basketball. That's fun. I took over this camera here. I'll give it back to you.
No, keep going.
Okay. Where are we going now? This is what my TikTok looks like too. My TikTok is me. Most of the videos are me trying to figure out how to set up my camera.
Do people like them?
I don't know. I just downloaded TikTok maybe like a month ago. So
Got it.
I'm still figuring it out.
Well, talk to us about these. These don't give me basketball.
No, so these are more of like that. The title of this painting, I'll backtrack. The title of this painting is Where We Are. The book that I was reading is Where You Are, There You Are.
Okay.
Concept of, it's honestly, it's a fairly simple concept. You know, where you exist is, you know, kind of where you are.
Yeah.
Like, and thinking about just those kind of moments of now, just kind of scrolling through some of my pictures that I never post. I came across a photo that I took of a friend kind of leaning on his bike. And I think it was on Tompkins. You could just see a bunch of things happening in the background.
Yeah.
But I also didn't necessarily want it to be what was happening in that moment because, you know, sometimes at a certain hour, Tompkins becomes pretty grown.
I didn't know.
Well, I mean, like at a certain time, you know, it's mostly like adults, young adults out there, like chilling, hanging out. But for the most part, you know, that area is on open streets is like family oriented. And like just a bunch of vendors and all of those things happening. So that being said, I started to think about just like moments of like right now, my like right now experience. Things that I'm witnessing and seeing and experiencing every day. I've had these works of paper, and there's quite a few of these. They all kind of exist in this box and in that bag over there. And I end up storing a lot of these things. So these are all kind of recent works that same concept. And originally I used, they ended up getting used to help like clean up a spill that was on the ground. So I like just tried to like grab some paper, just try to like clean up a bunch of ink that happened on the ground. But they all ended up with these like really beautiful kind of prints that dried. And eventually I kind of just kept pouring into it, just seeing what would happen, and started to, and images really started to appear. So as a part of that like daily practice, these almost became like a weekly meditations. I would just come and kind of work and figure out who these people are, or what it is that I'm seeing within these images. I've been doing a lot of works on paper right now because I'm just running out of space, and it's been honestly, and I enjoy working on paper because it connects me, it keeps me like connected to like a childhood type of. I think about like my origin story of like balled up pieces of paper, drawing up, figuring out how to draw on balled up pieces of paper. So I've been interested now in kind of these almost seemingly discarded uh, pieces of paper, and then kind of repurposing them back into uh, something else. But also just discovering what images kind of lie or kind of present themselves within the chaos and mess that was already kind of made on the paper. So,
Well, speaking of childhood, you have a new project that was just released.
yes,
Tell us about this.
yes.
Artistic Legacies. Can we see one of the pages, maybe?
Yeah, I'll show you one. Just thinking about my journey as an artist, and how I always, even from like being a young kid, I was always interested in who other Black artists were, because I knew that this was something that I wanted to do.
Right.
But I'm just like, I know I can't be the only one, because my Uncle Carlos taught me how to draw an eye. So he's an artist. Who are other Black artists? Who are famous Black artists? And it took so long for me to be able to kind of discover and find some of that history.
Yeah.
So, COVID happened, 2020. Everybody started having these like brilliant ideas. And this was one of the ideas that I had. And for a very long time, I just sat on it, didn't do anything with it. Just kind of, I would draw, I would draw a new artist every once in a while. Just.
Yeah.
And then I started showing people, and they was like, what? Yeah. And I ended up just creating like this long list. This is not even half of the artists that are on the list that I have. Of just African American artists that I've researched, that I love, that I enjoy. So just making sure that you also equip yourself with the proper resources and tools, and not to be egotistical, and and think that you're that original. Like, do some research and figure out the history of where your stuff comes, the lineage of where your ideas might arrive from. So yeah, I just wanted to be able to kind of just start to spread and share and preserve that history and make it a lot more accessible, a lot more digestible.
Yeah.
Because we deep.
We are.
So a lot of times, some of the work you don't understand it, but what's important is that you know who these people are, so you get an opportunity to just like gain intrigue. The illustrations here, I think, do just enough to where you might want to find out just a little bit more, and finding out something about one artist might lead you to another one, and that's kind of my hope.
Are you in there?
Yeah, that's the page I'm gonna show you.
Oh my gosh!
And because I love people so much, I gave y'all a couple more where you got like some of my artwork too.
Nice.
One of my paintings. I think this painting is in this room. I think it's over here somewhere.
Oh, in the canvas stack.
Yeah, that's it right here.
You want to take it out?
Sure, you can see it.
Okay. Oh, these are the rollerblades.
So this is that painting.
Does this piece have a name?
Pink Rollerblades.
Love it.
Yeah. When I was in high school, my older sister worked at the skating rink, and I needed a job, so I ended up asking her to hook me up, and I ended up working there too. Um, but for the longest, I didn't want to skate. I was just there for the money. Just standing there, you look out there and see everybody having so much fun. And I'm just sitting back at the skate counter, like cleaning something, like, dang, like, this sucks. Like, that looks fun. Like, so eventually I ended up learning how to skate, and it became something that I just really enjoy. It's a hobby, something that another thing that I've been able to find to uh, make sure that I can stay present and tap in with myself and do some sort of physical activity to, keep this together. Because for a lot of people, that's exactly what that is. It's just therapy.
So where are you skating in Brooklyn?
But there's a new skating rink. They call it Xanadu.
Ooh.
It's in like Williamsburg. I go there sometimes. It's definitely places to go. There's parks to go to, and it's nice.
Mm-hmm.
I like to go over to Lincoln Terrace. Yeah, that's the name of that park.
Will's coloring book, Artistic Legacies, showcases his ability to capture likeness and mood with only line drawings, as well as his understanding of legacy and lineage. Finding role models in his family members and in knowing the history of other Black artists helped him to find his way. When I asked Will to talk about his lineage as an artist, his answer surprised me. He didn't have to go all the way to the museum to see art. It was right there in his CD player. How would you describe your lineage as an artist?
We actually had to do some research on stuff like that during like my grad program, where you find yourself going down this rabbit hole of like imagery and where you might connect your imagery from. And for me, it may have been like early on album covers with like music.
Oh.
And what I'm now making a connection to with even just like the figural aspects of just like the low end theory, artwork on that, all the Outcast albums, even the artwork that they printed on the actual CD when you opened it up,
on the disc itself,
because it was different than the artwork that was on the album cover. And even having really dope and amazing kind of teachers and in high school who always did a really great job of sharing music and sharing artwork via album covers. Because I did I'll always remember this project. I did Lord Crimson, King Crimson. It was like their album cover. I painted that on like a refrigerator in high school.
You did another album cover recently, right?
Yeah, and that was kind of, I guess it's like a full circle moment. I was just recently commissioned to do an album cover for Flwr, Chyld, and Grimm, two really amazing musicians. One based here in Brooklyn, and Grimm I think is still based in Atlanta, for their project Cafe Noir. New York is so cool and fun and mixy and all of those things. I ended up at like a really cool party with some really cool people. Somebody introduced us and was like, hey, you guys should know each other.
Yeah.
And that's how we were introduced.
You and Flwr Chyld.
Yeah. I had an art show in Tribeca, and on his own, he ended up going to the show, and I guess felt inspired or moved by the work, and then hit me up about the commission kind of shortly after. They were really easy to work with too. I really enjoyed working with them. They knew exactly what they wanted. I actually enjoy. This is fun. I'm gonna say this. I probably would have turned it down if I didn't like the music.
Wow. Okay, so if people are gonna commission you,
yeah, you got to come correct. Like I can't put my name on something that's not good. And I think that album is like, it's a really dope little vibe, you know.
It was clear in spending an hour in his studio that intention matters in his work. Just like he didn't think he could put his name on an album cover if he didn't like the music, he wants his work to be representative of his life, which he says has been more sunshine than rain. And after looking at Will's work for nearly a year on Instagram, but never seeing more than one piece at a time, I noticed something that I never had before. Oh, this is a little hip chair. Your hips fit in this chair?
No,
I'm busting out. This is crazy.
Maybe I don't, you know, I don't know.
I'm not gonna ask you your waist size.
Some of the things that I started painting early on, really dove deep into like pain and trauma, and you could get a sense of that through the material and the kind of fluidity and just the even some of the even subject matter of the way that these works were, just how they were painted. They really felt like they were speaking to more traumatic moments or experiences. And I noticed how that didn't really make me, I didn't enjoy it. I didn't enjoy that. I didn't enjoy making that type of work. But I'm grateful that I did, because it was something that could come out for me to discover the work that I wanted to make. Would deal with more jovial kind of themes.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to try to figure out and find ways. Did I say try?
I want to try and figure out and find ways. That's what you're saying.
Let me go back. So I've been looking to figure out and find ways of representing just that, those jovial moments, Black joy, and just happy experiences, because that speaks to more of the life that I've lived, the life that I've experienced, and even the life that I just continue to hope to continue to experience. Yeah. I know pain, but I don't really, it's not interesting to describe it to me. What's interesting to me is to find ways to represent and radiate and multiply like thoughts of joy, leisure, happiness, comfort, peace, because that's a lot of what people need, a lot more of what people need, specifically, you know, looking inward first.
Yeah.
To be able to even kind of pour some of that out.
So you feel like your work really brings Black joy to the canvas?
At least when I'm making it, for sure.
So you're experiencing Black joy when you're making the work?
At least when I'm making it, for sure.
Okay.
But I think a lot of the subject matter can be lighthearted. So there's familiar moments of just like oh, or like, you know, some sort of moment where somebody can connect to just a bit of joy within it. Or not every work has the luxury of kind of being free from the viewer's kind of weight of what they might bring to it.
Yeah.
And sure, I think all that's still there just because it's a part of the experience. But I don't want or believe that my work harps or like focuses on those, like the negative cloud at all.
Right,
really.
Right.
Yeah.
I would agree with you. And as I'm looking around your studio, even this piece behind you, and the bicycle piece that was like a Tompkins scene, I'm noticing, and I don't think I noticed this before, that a lot of the figures in your work don't have faces, right? And when I think of joy, I think about smiles. None of these people even have teeth, right? But they all look happy to me. So I'm wondering, like, how are you able to convey joy without facial expression? And is there a reason why you're not painting faces?
I don't know how I'm doing that. I really don't. Like I don't know. I think maybe it has something to do with just like the facial structure and knowing like how someone's cheeks might be when they are smiling. But I don't know. Because I agree. I think there's something uniquely joyful about the way that the I still choose to paint these figures. Not painting their faces, I kind of got to a space where it became uninteresting to me. Because I wanted to figure out something a little bit more difficult. Just like I guess I'm still trying to figure it out because I don't know how I'm doing it. And I'm afraid to even learn how I'm doing it because I don't want it to become formulaic and But yeah, I felt that painting the features felt easy to get that expression with the facial features. And I was interested in finding other ways to capture expression and emotion without having to reveal who that person is. Because usually that's like the first question. So who is that? Especially in like the Black community. Who is that?
Yeah.
Ooh, that looks like your cousin. Is that your that your sister?
Was it your sister when they asked? So what about I don't think I see any here, but like self-portraiture.
Oh, I haven't done one in a little while. I got one tucked in there somewhere. Yeah, I just haven't done one. I was wanting to do one, and this honestly is more of a self-portrait, really. But I have this red hoodie that I always wear in here, and I was definitely wearing it that day, and just decided that that's me.
I'm grateful to Will for hosting my first ever studio visit for Black Star Reviews, and his patience between the interview recording, which was in October, and the interview release, which wasn't until now in March. As Will says, sometimes we don't know when to quit. So not only is he wise, but he's a talented visual artist. Here's how you can support Will's work and the people he'd like to thank for their help so far. Will, thank you so much for having me in here in your studio, in your space.
Appreciate you for coming.
Yeah, I hope I followed all of your studio rules.
Yeah, you didn't break nothing, so it's all good.
Great, right. You break it, you buy it.
Unless you just want to buy it.
I do. I'm looking and I'm like, how can I get one of these to come home? I'm also thinking of people who I know would love your work, right? And they may not know that much about buying art yet, but I'm like, nah, I got something you'd like. So stay tuned.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that.
Where can we find you if we want to commission you or buy your work?
I'm right here. I'm at the crib. No. I'm right here. I'm at the crib.
I'm going to put that in the YouTube video. Will is at the crib.
Y'all. I just be right here working on stuff like this and stuff like this. I'll be outside a little bit too, though. Just a little bit. No.
Should we contact you via email?
Yeah, honestly, it's really easy to reach out to me. I respond to emails, to DMs, but once you got my attention, you got my attention. And I'm pretty responsive, so especially when it comes to like my work, definitely take that serious. This book is releasing November 10th. November 10th is my grandmother's 80th birthday.
Oh, Grandma.
So shout out to Grandma. Happy birthday.
Hi, Grandma.
What's
your grandma's name?
Roberta.
Grandma Roberta.
We call her Granny G.
Granny G. You raised an excellent.
We call her Granny G because she a gangster.
Oh.
For the Lord, though. For the Lord. Don't get it twisted.
So we shouting out Granny G. We shouting out the coloring book. Anybody else?
I don't know, family, friends. Shout out to everybody, really. You know,
Yeah.
shout out to you. Thank you for coming.
You're welcome.
I appreciate when people come see, you know, what I got going on. Lets me know I'm doing something interesting. If people want to come see it, you know. So
you are.
it's always a really great feeling, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's a validating feeling. So I appreciate you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.